Hey Twitch, how's it going out there? Welcome back to the AWS Launchpad here at reInvent 2019. I've got some awesome guests with me. I'm Brandon. I've been talking to you a lot today. I'm going to have my co-hosts introduce themselves. Start with you.
Hi, I'm Neeraja Rentachintala. I am a Principal Product Manager in Amazon Redshift team.
And I am Michalis, Director of Engineering for Redshift.
And yes, I'm Matt, and yes, I am chained to the desk.
Yeah. Excellent. So today we have a whole bunch of really exciting announcements relating to Redshift.
Yes?
So I guess for our audience on Twitch, we should start by setting the stage a little bit. What is Redshift?
So Redshift is the most popular cloud data warehouse. So it is used by tens and tens of thousands of customers today. And they use it to provide high performance BI and analytics on large scale data sets.
Okay, so just briefly, for someone who may not know what a data warehouse is, what's a data warehouse?
So data warehouse is where companies bring all their data together. So they have variety of data sources on which they're running their business applications. So they bring the data together from all these disparate data sources and use it for reporting and analytics. So a place to consolidate all your data and get insights from the data.
Got it. And the difference between a data warehouse and a data lake is that the data warehouse is structured data and a data lake is more unstructured. Is that accurate?
That's a high-level way of looking at it, yes.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a data warehousing expert. I think Matt might be.
So you guys have had a ton of launches, and so we're going to, I think, put you guys in control of this. But I think anything where we're separating compute from storage is a really good thing. So so why don't we go through some of the items that you've launched?
Yes. Let's start with the new instance that we launched, which is RA3. This enables customers to actually scale compute and storage separately, and they only need to spend as much compute as they actually need. The system keeps the colder data into the Redshift managed storage layer, while the hot data is kept very close to the compute. The system makes the determination, of course, automatically and transparently to the customers, just by detecting, based on the query patterns, which data is accessed more frequently than others. And this is one of the releases that is pretty much a win-win for everyone, because they get twice as much storage capacity, twice as much performance for the same price. So there isn't really a trade-off here. This is a net benefit for the customers, especially the ones that they used to keep colder data, more archived data in a separate storage layer. Now everything can live within Redshift, and the customers can do that in a very financially viable way.
Sure.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, add to Michalis. I think I would say performance and scalability as a broader topic is a deep focus area for Redshift. So we have been doing many enhancements around performance as well as scalability of the data. So the RA3, the new instance type that we launched, is a major release that we have been working for a few years now, and we are very excited for our customers.
It's cool stuff. It really is.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so what's next up on the list of Redshift launches?
Yeah, you have some slides. Should we put the slides up and
sure.
talk through about some of those?
Like, I know the ones I'm excited about, but I don't know whether you want to go in a particular order. I really love the unload to Parquet format as well.
Yes, unload to Parquet it's actually very exciting, because going back to the initial point, it actually bridges the data warehouse and the data lake together. So the lines are being blurred. This is one big differentiation of the Redshift system, in the sense, with respect to our competitors, in that we're a very open and flexible system. We can operate on data in the data lake without necessarily ingesting the data. We can operate on the data at rest, and also we can contribute back to the data lake from Redshift data. That's what unload to Parquet really does. So people can use Redshift not only to gather all the data and run reports, but they can also use it as a very efficient and massively parallel engine. And they can read data from the lake and contribute data back to the lake as well. So that's why we have merged a little bit the terms of data lake and data warehouse, and we call it the lake house.
Which was formerly Spectrum.
Spectrum, yes, it's the technology that we're using to very effectively, very efficiently access data within S3. Yes, right. Correct.
Yeah, so I think one important point to note on the data lake export is when you're exporting data from Redshift into S3, we allow you to specify the partition keys, which means that by the time it gets to S3, it's completely partitioned Parquet data sets, which means that some of the other analytic frameworks that Amazon has, such as Athena, EMR, or the machine learning frameworks such as SageMaker can directly read the data, but also efficiently with high performance.
And if we're thinking of services like EMR, where I may be using Hive or Spark, obviously I may want to be hitting the Glue catalog, and I think at the moment the customers have to actually run the Glue crawler on the exported data from Redshift in order to query that using the Glue catalog. Is that correct?
Yes. So
okay.
the primary use case of the data lake export is data sharing.
Yeah.
Right. So you have brought in a lot of data, you processed in Redshift. How do you make it available to a broad set of use cases? So that's the primary focus. Yep.
Correct.
And I do want to bring up one other announcement that you guys made, or that Andy Jassy made on stage, and that's Aqua, because I've seen the most questions about how does Aqua really help us. When I first saw this, I was thinking almost like a storage gateway for Redshift, where I'm able to store hot data a lot closer to the compute nodes and have the cooler data sitting in S3. Is my understanding correct?
Somewhat. So yes,
somewhat.
the Aqua is a layer actually that sits between between S3 and the local data that we are caching very close to compute, right?
Yep.
But the unique property of this layer is really that it brings compute capabilities right where the data sits. So we often talk about the separation of compute and storage, but this is not always a great thing, because then you need to bring a lot of data over the network close to compute. So this layer borrows compute capabilities from Redshift, and of course has custom hardware that reads data very fast, and bringing these two together is the reason why it provides a 10x improvement in price to performance ratio. And how this helps customers, it's not necessarily something that somebody needs to think of, because this is going to be completely transparent. It's just going to work. So this is the great benefit of the Aqua layer.
Yeah. So we have a lot of things to cover. We're about halfway through the session. We have some demos. I think it's time we get down to brass tacks and show the people what they want to see, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
So I can quickly show the performance and concurrency enhancements that we have done in the product. So Redshift, as I mentioned, has tens of thousands of customers. So we have a lot of fleet telemetry that we have, where we gather information on customer use case patterns, what kind of data sets they are querying, what are the characteristics of the data. So we use that information to optimize Redshift for real life workloads. So this is a graph on the left side showing how Redshift out-of-box performance has improved by 2.3x just in the last 6 months. And this is a continuous journey. Right on the right side, it is showing that for concurrent users, so when multiple users are trying to access the data warehouse at the same time, how does Redshift scale? So the graph indicates that Redshift scales linearly, right, as the more and more users and queries come in, and the concurrency, the throughput from the system has been improved by around 35x. Again, just in 2019 timeframe since the last reInvent. So I think we have many major enhancements, like such as RA3 and Aqua, but also just for the users, improve the experience out of the box. We have a lot of out-of-box performance as well as the concurrency improvements.
I love this. I love this kind of announcement too, because it's just your infrastructure just leveling up, evolving, getting better without you having to do anything. It's one of the huge advantages of building in the cloud.
Yep. And also I think more and more users want to get to access to the data. When the system is able to perform out of the box, then they don't have to rely on a central DBA team to tune it for them, right? So it is a matter of making the Redshift much more easier to use for customers.
Yeah, great.
So the other thing I think we wanted to maybe we can talk about is the federated query. We are very
yes.
excited about the
Love this.
federated query capability.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Of course. So the federated query capability, what it does really is that it allows you within a single statement to access data or either join the data or union data from 3 different data stores. So one of them is the local storage of Redshift. The other one is Aurora Postgres
same screen?
or RDS Postgres, and the third one is S3. So people can have the flexibility of placing their data in the storage layer that they see fit for the data itself, and at the same time having access to real-time data. So you access the data from your operational store, and on the fly you're building reports that they can react to what's happening in your operational store immediately. So with that, again, the important part is that without ingesting the data into Redshift. And in addition to this, it's not that we're going to the other data stores and we retrieve the data and then operating the data on Redshift. We have a very smart query optimizer that decomposes the query in a way that it pushes filters and aggregations to the different stores based on their capabilities.
So you're doing predicate pushdowns to the
Yes.
source. Okay.
Yes, to all of them.
All of them.
Predicate
Yep.
pushdowns, but also aggregation and some of whatever the operations we can push down to the underlying source. We want to move them closer to the source.
And that includes partition pruning as well.
So
Yes.
partition pruning is applicable to the data in files, right?
Okay.
So you're trying to
Yep.
query a particular portion of the segment. So that is something we already do with Spectrum. So we are using similar capabilities also to push down to the operational databases.
Got it. And how is this different from, say, other federated query offerings? Why would I want to use, say, Redshift as opposed to another service?
Because it is the fastest data warehouse.
Huh?
So as I said before,
But obviously you are constrained by where the data is as well. Like if it's there's latency involved between the compute of Redshift nodes where the data is stored. So how does that play into things? Obviously you don't sort of guarantee any times over that.
We do that because the main reason that we're doing this is that it takes longer to actually ingest data.
Got it.
So we want
Okay.
people to have access right where the data is being generated.
Yep.
So near real-time analytics is some of the most emerging and critical use cases that our customers are facing. And again, the data warehouse is not just a monolithic big thing that it sits right in the middle of your infrastructure. It's far-reaching. It reaches out to other services to pull data near real time
So your
help
result
the
sets
customer business.
ultimately are stored in Redshift locally after the federated query.
No?
So
They
we
can
don't
be?
we don't bring
want to?
any data and store
Okay.
it in
It's
Redshift.
purely
So
the
it
query.
is querying
Yeah.
live.
Okay.
And I think going back to your question on why would you use Redshift federated query, one thing I would add is the way to look at it is you need a unified analytics layer to access data from your data warehouse, data lake, and the operational databases, and Redshift provides that. So it's not only a federated query solution, it's trying to provide a unified analytics solution with high performance.
So similar to like a managed MapReduce or something.
Much more efficient. The thing is that under the data warehouse, you do want to use separate services, specialized services, right? So some people are using Kinesis, some people are using MR. They're producing data in many different ways, including operational databases. But above the data warehouse, you really want to have one point where you're executing your analytics, and that's what Niraja is actually highlighting, which is very important to our customers.
Right.
So we're doing the data integration on the fly for them without necessarily major data movements.
I think another particular one, we were just chatting before the conversation was around spatial data support.
Yep.
So now we have introduced spatial processing into Redshift. So there is a new geometric data type that has been added with which you can, so if you are trying to analyze your sales data, typically the way traditional analysis would be, how does my last 30 days sales perform? How does my last 1 week? How does my last 1 day? Now you have a space dimension, right? So you can say that, okay, how does my sales perform around this location for this particular area? How does my sales perform within a distance within this particular location? So you can add like a new dimension to your analytics, and Redshift allows you to combine the business data with your spatial data so that as a user, you are not required to have a lot of knowledge around this whole spatial processing. You are just using SQL, but you are getting the benefits of the overall spatial analysis. So this is something we are very excited about.
So to follow up, there's a question on the chat there, is that can we still use QuickSight to execute federated queries?
Yes.
We can.
So Redshift is your entry point.
Yep.
So the entire metadata is exposed
So
to
from
QuickSight.
the end user, it's just a Redshift query.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're talking to Redshift.
Yep.
That's how it is. So I think another particular one that probably we're coming from a partner summit. I think one particular feature that excited them was materialized views. Do you want to cover materialized views?
Of course. So materialized views, it's a well-known concept from database systems from many decades now. So what we're doing differently here at Redshift is that we're actually making it a little bit easier for people to create the materialized views and update them when they see fit. So we do have incremental maintenance. So when you create your materialized view, when the new data comes in, we don't just recompute the entire materialized view. We just recompute, change the part of the view that is being affected by the tuples that are either coming in or being deleted. So the maintenance of the views is very efficient, but it's also the fact that the users can choose when to refresh the materialized view. So some of our customers, they do it every time they ingest the data, which might be in every few minutes or a few seconds. Other customers are doing it overnight, but they choose when to spend the resources in order to update it. So yeah, a big differentiator, and of course we're going to be releasing new enhancements during the year as well.
And a materialized view, for those watching, is just is treated as a standard kind of table or view in traditional database terminology, where we can join against materialized views with live data and.
You can. So I think the way to think about it is materialized views accelerate more predictable, repeatable workloads, right? So if you know what kind of queries you're trying to execute, you can create a view, right? Materialized view, call it materialized view. And all the subsequent queries that come from the clients, you can point them to materialized view. They don't have to pre-compute, they don't have to compute results, right? So it is very suitable for BI dashboarding, ELT type of workloads where you know the queries upfront. And as Mihalis mentioned, when the base tables are updated, the materialized views, you can refresh them incrementally. So you're not paying the penalty of building everything from scratch again, which is a huge value.
10 minutes ago, I was talking to a customer that has 300 fixed queries that are being executed 100,000 times a week. So this is the perfect use case for materialized views. You do the heavy computation once, and then you're using it 100,000 times on top. This is a tremendous also savings cost for them, because they don't really need to throw that much compute over their data anymore.
And how does the costing work with all of this? Are these just sort of features that anyone who's currently paying for Redshift today can take advantage of, or is there some additional charges to leverage these new features?
Yeah, so I think, just like every team in AWS, we are completely focused on customers, right? So the goal is to provide the best solution at the cost-effective way. That is kind of our intent. So in terms of the pricing, RA3 is a new instance type. So existing customers, as we talked earlier, the DS2 customers, Redshift DS2 customers, they can, at the same price, they can move to RA3 and get 2x storage capacity and 2x performance. So they're not paying anything extra, right? So similarly, we have ability for DC2 customers to move to RA3 at the same price, but get better storage capacity. So they can leverage existing features, these features without having to pay extra. And things like materialized views, spatial support, federated queries, they're core part of the product, so it's not anything extra.
Yeah.
I'd like to take just a few seconds to actually answer some of the queries, questions. How frequently materialized views will be refreshed? This is up to the user. Refreshing the materialized views is a SQL command. You're free to do it whenever you want. And also the materialized views do join different tables. They support joins and also support incremental maintenance for joins. And a previous question was whether we're going to have a smaller instance for the RA3, and the answer is yes. Within Q1, we're going to have the RA3 4XL. This is coming up.
The other one that I did see there was, how does it compare to Athena federated queries?
I think it's really, it's not that easy to compare the two systems because you're talking about the different use cases, right? Athena is a serverless model. This is more interactive querying. I think customers will have to test the systems and see for themselves.
Right.
Cool. So that's kind of a whirlwind of feature releases. There's so much awesome stuff. There's so much more that we didn't have a chance to cover.
I want to add a number here. I think in the last 18 months, Redshift has released around 200 features and enhancements. And just since last reInvent, we released around 100 features. So I am actually into Redshift about 4 months here now. And I'm fascinated by how fast the team is innovating. So it's really exciting.
Good work.
for us.
So there's an improved console experience, there's concurrency features, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we didn't have a chance to cover here. So I guess call to action, users should go check out the new Redshift experience and look at all the new stuff, right?
Yeah, so the call, I mean, I would say that we have published what's new information. So if you can go to Redshift what's new, and it has information about all the new features. We also have a lot of blogs published on all the major events, so you should check out that blog. They're very comprehensive. They explain everything step by step. So we would highly recommend you to do it. And I mean, lastly, the best way to do this is to try out the product. So we have materialized views, federated query in preview. So you can just launch a cluster with these previews and try out and just try out the features.
Awesome. Well, Niraja, Mihalis, thank you so much for coming and talking to us about all these awesome Redshift features. Everyone out there on Twitch, thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more awesome stuff.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.